Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for a presentation on banking opportunities in the financial industry. We have four great banks and representatives from each of them, their HR departments and various other departments of interest to discuss what it's like to be in banking, how to get in banking, and what opportunities we have in banking. Tonight, the agenda, after I finish the introductions of all of our guests, we'll have about 4 or 5 specific questions that I'll be asking. First of all, what positions are available for a recent graduate in banking, in a banking career? And secondly, what career paths do you have within the banks that you represent? What other opportunities do they have for growth? What types of community involvement does your bank participate in? And what kind of diversity actions does it take in its business? Lastly, we'll look for where do you think the industry is going, and for new grads and for those who are in the banking industry, the opportunities that you have today for employment. And lastly, each of the HR professionals will be giving tips for your banking career search. So let's get on with the program. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to Purdue Northwest's first banking career presentation. We are excited to see so many of you here tonight. We originally thought that we were going to have about 6 or 7, and we've had many more than that. So this is all a very good attendance. Tonight we have a great program set up for you. We have some of the foremost banking professionals in Northwest Indiana here tonight to share their wisdom and experiences and to take your questions. I am Todd Etzler, and with Brian Page, we teach the risk management class at PNW Banking Concentration. Brian is the Chief Credit Officer with Wintrust Bank, and I'm the General Counsel with Horizon Bank. As part of the banking concentration, we will periodically put on events like this to supplement the in-classroom experience. Please look forward to future announcements in the coming semesters. On the agenda tonight, we have some quick introductions and of our professionals and their institutions. Then we will move forward into a few prepared topics that each of the banks and their representatives will talk about. And then after the end of each question, after the bank representatives speak, we'll take some questions from the students. And you can do those questions either by raising your hand on the Zoom or putting them in the chat box. We'll try to keep control of those and answer them as they are appropriate for the topic. Then we will move on to some general introductions, and at the end we'll answer any questions that you may still have lingering at the end of the program. Remember, as on Zoom, try to mute your microphone when you are not speaking so that we don't hear your dogs barking and other things going on. We appreciate that. So now let's get on with the program. As introductions, we have from Centier Bank, Gina Jervis. She's Assistant Vice President and Employment Manager. From Wintrust, we have Darla Kraus, who is the Assistant Vice President and HR Resources Program Manager. We also have from Wintrust, Gil Reinberg, Commercial Lending Officer. From People's Bank, we have Jill Knight, who works in the HR department, and Payman Tarabe, CFO of People's. You may also know him as Professor Tarabe. For Horizon Bank, we have Sarah Exum, who's Vice President of Talent Management and Development, Jennifer Shoup, who is Vice President, District Retail Manager for Horizon, and Bill Gertner, Assistant Vice President and Commercial Loan Officer for Horizon. We appreciate all of them taking their time to come tonight. They're all very excited to speak with you. This is a big part of the PNW banking concentration to try to get you some real life examples of people out in the industry and to get you some career advice as we move forward. So our bank today, now we'll go to the summary of the banks and their institutions, where they do business and what makes them distinctive in their own areas. We'll go give each bank the opportunity to respond through their representatives. And we'll start with Centier Bank and Gina Jervis. Gina?
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here tonight and represent Centier. What makes Centier Bank so unique is, first of all, we're the largest privately owned bank in Indiana. We have no plans to move public. Our company has a large not-for-sale campaign. I'm sure you've seen it in your markets. We've been owned and operated by the Schrag family the entire time we've been around. Mike Schrag's our current president, and he has absolutely no plans to sell his bank. We even have the 5th generation of the family part of the organization now. So when Mike does decide to retire, they're committed to carrying on with the mission that Centier has in place. Up until probably 15 years ago, we were heavily concentrated in Lake and Porter counties. And over the last 15 years, we've really been growing and expanding. We go down south into Indianapolis and presently have 5 branches in and around that area, 5 locations in Lafayette. And then we go out east into Mishawaka, so Elkhart, Goshen, Granger, and Fort Wayne. And you're going to continue to see a lot of expansion from us. We're presently a $5 billion bank, but we have plans to double in size over the next 15 years or so. And we want to do it all organically. So it's a really exciting time at Centier. We're consistently voted one of the best banks to work for, nationally as well as in Indiana. So it's a really exciting time. I'm proud to be a part of it.
You're muted, Todd.
Sorry. Thank you, Gina. Now we'll hear from Wintrust.
I'll let Gil start it off for us.
Okay, I'll be happy to. Good evening, everybody. My name is Gil Reinberg. I am the Northwest Indiana Market President for Wintrust Commercial Banking. Wintrust is a $45 billion bank. We're the largest bank headquartered in the Midwest. Born and raised here, our founder is very much at the top of the shop, Ed Waymer. Started the bank de novo in Lake Forest in the north suburbs a little over 25 years ago. We have a huge presence in Wisconsin, significant, of course, presence in the Chicago metro area, all the way out west to Rockford. And then, of course, our presence in Northwest Indiana. We have a location in Dyer and a strong team that is marketing and growing our presence in this market where we sit. So Darla, if you want to expand on recruiting or anything in that regard, that'd be great.
Sure. We also are happy to say that we have been voted a top Chicago workplace for the 7th year in a row. So we are proud to know that our employees like working for us. And we are happy to work with the Purdue Northwest group because we have some opportunities actually that I'm hopeful we can talk a little bit later, where we're always looking for graduating seniors as well as interns to come and work for us in several of our markets.
Thank you, Darla. Now we'll have an introduction by People's Bank.
Hi, my name is Jill Knight. I'm from People's Bank. I am the Vice President of Talent Development. People's Bank has a strong history in Northwest Indiana. We were established in 1910. We started off in Lake County. We have expanded to Porter County, and within the last couple of years, we've also entered the Illinois market. So, very exciting time for us as our footprint is expanding. but we feel that being a community bank is really, just a really great opportunity for our customers and for our employees. We have also been named one of the best banks to work for from American Banker for the last 5 years. And we have been named one of the top 200 community banks in the country for, I think it's been the last 14 years. So one thing I think that makes People's very unique is our, community focus. That's one thing that our employees really like. Our customers are very happy with that. And that's something that people are always looking for, especially during the recruitment process. They like to hear about our involvement in the community. They also like the fact that our leadership is local and they're very accessible. We hear from our senior management team and our president, regularly, and they're always available. So that's something that, employees really like.
Thank you, Jill. Now we'll hear from Horizon Bank.
Evening. I'm Jennifer Shoup with Horizon Bank, and I'm a district manager for our LaPorte and Berrien counties. And Horizon Bank originally started in LaPorte County, Michigan City. We've been around for 147 years. We're a little over $5 billion in assets, and we are a locally owned independent commercial bank. Our focus is on serving our communities where our branches are. We provide exceptional service, sensible advice, and are really focused on building the lifelong relationships. And I can personally attest to many of our customers that have been here a lifetime with Horizon. We are a growing bank, as some of the other banks have spoken to their growth in their county. We expanded into Porter County, Lake County, and then into our Michigan market in 2006. And we've actually completed 14 mergers since then. We've found other banks that share our values and our commitments to the community. And that's just one of the ways we've grown. We now have 75 branches, and we go as far south as Columbus, Indiana, and as far north as Midland, Michigan. So we've had to adjust the way we do our banking over the years because we're in the central time zone here, but the majority of our branches are now in Eastern time zone. So it's really a shift for not just the branch advisors, but all of our support divisions to take care of our customers and our branches in those different time zones. We continue to grow. Our board strategic plan includes growing through finding other banks that share similar values and the sales culture, and having them join the Horizon organization through mergers. We also build branches, and we know in markets we know would be better served by having a Horizon there, or there's a market disruption for us to maximize opportunities with. But the third growth, most important, is the organic growth that comes from building that lifelong relationship with customers. When we do additional business with our customers, we meet their needs and we reach our goals.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. As you can see, we have 4 banks that are very much invested in Northwest Indiana, and all of them are growing banks, and they're all looking for employees that know what Northwest Indiana is, want to stay in Northwest Indiana and work in Northwest Indiana. So that's why we've gathered them all here tonight to help you understand the business of banking in Indiana and in Chicago. Now we'll go on to a couple of our questions. The first question is a question that we get often in class. What types of positions are available in banking, both for those that are new graduates and in the future? We'll start with Wintrust for the first question.
Sure, I can take that. So I oversee our internship program and our credit training program. And we hire interns every year. We anticipate we will have an internship program again in summer of 2021. So if anyone's looking for an internship, our timeline's a little different this year. So we'll probably be starting to accept applications usually in the January, February, March timeframe. So a little bit later than usual, but we anticipate we'll have some internships. For graduating seniors, we offer a couple different positions. Probably the most popular position is the credit analyst position. We actually have one open right now for our Northwest Indiana market. So we're looking for someone graduating in May that wants to work in banking. So hopefully we have a couple of you on the call today that would be interested in something like that and want to reach out. So we hire those positions, and those positions typically you start to see those ahead of time. You would see those recruiting now for positions that might not start till after you graduate. We also have positions that have a different timeline. They're more once you graduate. So we hire entry level right out of college finance accounting majors into roles in our mortgage department. We also hire folks into treasury management, financial analysis, financial analyst type roles, but probably our most common is our credit analyst position. We have a credit training program that we hire about 25 students every year into that, who want to start a career in commercial banking and want to be like Brian Page someday and be a chief credit officer. So those are some of the opportunities we have.
Wonderful. Representative from Peoples, on what kind of positions do you have available for students?
All right. Well, we also have finance interns, and they get a great opportunity to just kind of start into that banking role. We also have development programs for a number of different areas of the bank, whether it be someone that is interested in more of the retail side, for that business banker kind of starting through that credit role. We do have a program for our wealth management area, and also for our mortgage lenders. One great thing about banking is you have so many options, and whether it be, if you're the person that really is happy with the customer facing positions, there are all of those, the sales, the officer type positions, or if you're happy, being the credit analyst, working in the finance area, there are also positions for that. So there are all of those things, and we are looking for people that, as a new college graduate, you may not, you don't necessarily have that experience, but you definitely have that drive, and that's always something that we're looking for.
Thank you, Jill. Horizon Bank, can you tell us a little bit?
Sure. I'm going to talk a little bit about the opportunities outside of some of the things that have already been discussed, because we have some similar circumstances too with regard to interns. We also hire junior lenders and junior credit analysts. I guess you'd call them somewhat of an intern role, but that's entry level type positions. We have those too. But I just want to take a moment and talk about other things that are available in the bank that aren't those things that could be equally of interest to folks. Some have mentioned the finance area and financial analysts. We have some entry-level positions and some internship opportunities opening up in our auditing area. In our trust department, we have internships in there. So we are trying to grow in those additional areas. Operations is another huge part of our bank, which isn't necessarily as visible to people who come into our branches, work with our commercial lenders, work with our retail staff. It's another area where we have a lot of entry-level type opportunities, and some of that depends a bit on the types of experiences that you have. As the person who was just speaking before me was talking about, and Jill was talking about the drive that people have that come out of college, that's certainly something that we look for as well, and is something we need across the board in all of our departments. We have entry-level positions in our IT department and HR department as well. So there's a whole big, I think of having just come into banking 7 years ago myself and not having been in that before. I look at banking as a glacier. What you see is this much, when you interact with the bank, and then there's a whole bunch underneath that. Honestly, once you get into banking, you realize just how many opportunities and how big it is.
Thank you, Sarah. As for Payman, you are on the financial side. How does someone get into the financial side of a bank?
That's a great question. Generally, just like we've been hearing, banking is a great opportunity where you can really start out at a ground level, you work your way into a job. It could be in the financial area, it could be from other areas, and as you start to get deeper into it, just like we heard that iceberg from Sarah example, you start to realize how much there is going on underneath the surface, and so you quickly can find opportunities to work within what you might start out thinking is where you want to be, which could be in finance, and then branch off and go in other directions. Typically for finance, so what you'll see is financial analysts and other analytical type of positions. So we're always looking for people with strong finance and accounting backgrounds, and especially when it's coupled with that drive and coupled with some good technology skills. Those kind of people are always welcome in banking. They have plenty of opportunity to have great careers in banking as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Gina, Centir, what is available in Centir?
Yeah, so a lot of what you've already heard, but I will tell you that we have a very low turnover rate between interns as well as permanent individuals. We have internships come about every single year. I would say probably 5 to 10 every summer, depending, and 2021 will be no different. But what's unique about our internships is they don't really end. So what we do with that is we bring you on and you have the ability to stay on with us even beyond the summer. So we will have individuals come on to work in a banker role in our branches, and they can continue to work. Even if they're not local, they're away at school, for an example, they can come back on their Christmas break or spring breaks to continue working for us. We had data governance interns last year. One of them is actually now coming on permanently after graduation. So there's a lot of opportunity to stay connected to the Centir family if you join us through an internship. But we also have a lot of individuals who we come on into a personal banker or universal banker role while in college or another department while going through school, and then they are in, and all of our positions are opened internally first before we look outside. You have that first opportunity to kind of raise your hand before we start putting postings out there to recruit individuals outside the bank. So that's where I mean when we're talking about low turnover, people can come here and really grow. If they show that initiative, they show that drive, that loyalty, really the sky's the limit at Centir.
Thank you, Gina. Do we have any questions from the students on starting careers at banks? I haven't seen any on the chat, but
one of the you mentioned like a technological skills by the Mr. Torabi. What kind of technical skill are you kind of like looking in that financial statement side?
Good question. Generally, the first thing we look for are definitely strong Excel skills. Excel is still used pretty broadly, and it's definitely needed in day-to-day work activity. But what really we're seeing through the pandemic is a bit of I think the buzzword right now in the industry is digital transformation. Trying to more seamlessly interact with customers in a digital manner. But that's also internal as well when it comes to the type of technology that our employees use. We're definitely always looking for cutting edge technology and making sure that we're really staying up to speed, especially through times like these when technology becomes so much more important. So with what I was saying there, I would say, your standard Microsoft Office suite, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Word, those are all key, technological platforms that you want to be really up to speed with and using. the nice thing about banks though too is a lot of times we, I'm sure everybody here would appreciate and agree. We oftentimes too, if you come in a little bit weak in some of those areas, we'll offer training and we'll offer help to get people up to speed to get to where they need to be as well.
Good question. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, that both Payman and we have had talked about growth in the bank. Did we have another question? We talked about personal growth in the banks. Can we talk about a little bit about what are the career paths and opportunities after you get into the bank with each of your banks? And we'll start with People's Bank.
All right. You know, with career paths, you know, as I had mentioned earlier, banking is a great industry because there are so many choices. And as Santir had mentioned, we do have a number of people that do start off, you know, as part-time retail. I'm one of those people. You know, this was my summer job. I worked at, you know, over Christmas and things like that, and little did I realize it would lead to a 35-year career. You know, but we do have people that have started in those areas that are in, you know, senior level positions within the bank. So, you know, the career path is very, very customizable based on someone's interests. And, you know, we also look internally first. So we do a lot of promoting from within. And that's another thing that, you know, employees really like, where they can see that they have an opportunity for growth. They have an opportunity to develop in their careers. And, you know, I know us in HR do a little cheer every time we get a chance to see someone, you know, take that step and be able to advance. You know, there are definitely lots of opportunities for education and training. You know, People's has a very nice tuition reimbursement program. We're constantly reviewing the benefits that we offer and are, you know, trying to make sure that we're providing benefits that are important to employees. You know, because it's all about making sure that you have good employees that are happy where they're working, because that really helps everyone be more successful.
Absolutely. Horizon Bank.
Hi, good evening. Bill Gertner here. I'm commercial loan officer here with Horizon, and pleasure to kind of share, you know, my thoughts on career path and growth opportunities. And you know, what's interesting to me about banking, and I think that everyone would probably agree to, is that I don't think anyone woke up at 5 years old and said, "Hey, I wanted to be a banker," right? You know, Todd probably decided he wanted to be an attorney back then, but as far as banker, no. I think similar to most people, I didn't foresee a career initially in banking. I wanted to be somewhere within the business world, owning my own business, just getting the opportunity to get my feet wet, if you will. After a couple of hard lumps occurring within the world and trying to get out there, I actually have a family member that owns a headhunter firm out east, and you know, he told me, he said, you know, the three people that I most value in my business relationships are my attorney, my CPA, and my banker. And he made the comment, you know, I know you don't want to be an attorney, and I've got some family that are in the business, and he said, you know, if I were you, I would go learn about finance and banking and kind of see what's going on. Well, I didn't really, I heard the discussion, but just kind of put in the back of my mind. And, you know, I ended up applying for a teller role at Horizon. And after 3 interviews, was told that I didn't fit the role, and was offered a customer service position. And I said, great, what do they do, right? So I jumped into that really not knowing much of anything other than I think that glacier analogy is right on the head. Just not understanding what the day-to-day involvements were within the banking world. And from my experience, just I'll tell you, just saying yes to opportunities that present themselves, stepping out of your comfort zone really enabled me, from my experience, to grow into other roles and positions. And that's actually what led me through the retail environment into the commercial lending atmosphere. And I will say that for someone in my role, most people do start off within the financial analyst realm. I didn't. And I think that just being open and having, just being willing to kind of put yourself out there and be aware of what possibilities could occur. It's okay to be uncomfortable. That's how you get the growth opportunities and find where you truly see a good fit. And for me, I found that with a one-on-one role with my client relationships, and having the ability to I see myself as their business partner personally. So that's been priority for me.
Thank you, Bill. And now you're doing commercial lending out of LaPorte County, correct?
Yes. I like to say I'm a traveling salesman. Yes, I am located in LaPorte County. Definitely outgoing, seeking opportunities within this new world, wherever they may present themselves, if you will.
Very good. Centir, opportunities for growth at Centir Bank.
Yeah, so, very much like Jill was talking about, I too started while I was in college as a teller. I was a freshman in college and I had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I was introduced to Centir Bank and joined as a part-time teller. And I fell in love with the culture and what Centir was. And I knew I wanted to stay there. And what's so great about Centir is they allow you to shadow and visit different departments. So I had an opportunity to learn more about what happens in these different areas and get to talk to individuals who worked there. And I happened to have met at the time my director of human resources, and I fell in love with her and loved what I was hearing about human resources. And that actually helped to guide me on my career path as to what I was pursuing in college. When I graduated, there was an opening for an HR assistant, and the rest is history. And I've just grown through so that's what's so great about Centir. To Jill's point, or to banking, I should say, to Jill's point, you can just explore and see, what do you like? What speaks to you? Where does your passion lie? And then you have that opportunity to really go whatever direction you want to go to. We're looking for personality. We're looking for loyalty. We're looking for drive and ambition. That is really the key for the managers and across the board in our departments. There, of course, will be some roles where having a certain background is critical. But I would say for most of our areas, they want to at least talk to you, learn about you. And then we have a fantastic talent development team that actually has career path plans in place. So even if you're not ready now, they can help get you there through classes. Our instructional designers have created curriculum to help with that.
Great, thanks, Gina. Darla or Gil?
Sure. As far as career paths go and development opportunities, our training program really kind of sets you up for that. All of our credit analysts that come into our program go through 2 years of training. And so we really, in that program, are able to give you exposure to all the different areas of the bank. So while you may be working in our Oak Lawn location as a credit analyst, you also get to learn from folks in other areas, maybe someone in our wealth management team, or someone from our first insurance team, or someone from our franchise lending team. So you understand who those different areas are. And that provides you the opportunity to not only learn about them, but think about, is that an area I might want to work in someday? With our training program, it's really kind of a career path established for you. Our goal is to have folks be in a credit analyst role for 2 years, and then to promote them out into the different career paths within commercial lending. So whether that be an underwriter or a commercial banking type role that you can look into. And really, we start that at the internship level. Folks that go into our credit analyst role typically have done some sort of internship. And a lot of them have done an internship in banking. So we offer our interns the opportunity to interview for a full-time position in our credit training program before they finish their internship. So by the time they leave that summer, they know whether they have a position or not. So a good majority of our positions end up going to folks who have had an opportunity to intern. And, I think it's been mentioned to everyone, if you're thinking, how do I get an internship? Listen to what Gina said. Retail is where it's at, guys. That's what I will tell you. Start as a teller. That's what I did too. You heard all of us say that. If you want to, and I see the folks from Horizon smiling on that too. If you want to get an internship, the easiest way is to be an employee and then apply for that internship. We have a lot of people that want to be an intern. If an internal candidate that works for us now applies for an internship, they're going to get an interview for that. So go out right now and find a part-time teller job. And then you'll be working for us and you'd be able to get that internship a lot easier. So I think banking is the one unique place where you can start with knowing nothing and just start as a teller and end up the president of the bank someday. It happens all the time. Gil, did you want to add about the commercial lending?
Yeah, just a couple comments that I would make. Actually, my first job in banking was as a teller too, for 3 summers while I was in college. So that is a great place to start. But I'll speak to the credit analyst role, and then the steps that would be kind of more conventional, speaking to what Darla was saying earlier. So the training program is typically known as the credit analyst program. And then from there, there's many different options, and our program tries to give exposure not just to commercial banking, but to other areas of the bank as well. But I'm going to speak to commercial banking because that's my area of concentration. From there, generally, you'd go into an underwriter type role, which is largely similar to the work you were doing as an analyst, but more dedicated to a particular portfolio or a team, a commercial banking team. From there, you might go to what would be from an underwriter to a portfolio manager, where you're doing, you might say, the heavy lifting of making sure that credit file, the relationship, the details that are necessary to monitor the relationship are all intact, and you're supporting the commercial lenders that are out in the field, so to speak, and trying to generate business, as Bill alluded to earlier. At that point in your career, there's some people that really like underwriting. That's just the way that they're wired, and that's okay. And you can grow in your career with respect to that responsibility, and you can take a turn into being part of the credit team that actually has responsibility and authority for approving credits. Or you can take the twist toward being more of a relationship manager. At that point, you're running point, and it's exactly in line with what Bill alluded to earlier, for responsibility of the relationships that we have in-house, growing those relationships, keeping them happy, and then going out and prospecting and growing your portfolio and your book of business over time. And we could talk about that later if we have time. And then at that point, you have a career path to be a team lead and a hub leader and a market leader and so forth. So, and I'll make this one quick comment that generally, as you go through that growth pattern, when you're earlier in your career, the hard skills are what are going to carry you day to day and month to month through success. And as you develop further into your career, it's going to be the soft skills, communication skills, conflict resolution, sales skills, people skills in general. So, and that, when you're talking about HR professionals, so to speak, in recruiting, it's that chemistry that we're looking for. But if you're not a salesperson, it doesn't mean it's a dead end with regard to many different opportunities that are excellent within the bank.
Good information. It really sounds like the banks, once you get into the bank, they're really looking for you to move up and expand and increase your responsibilities and your talents. Was that accurate?
I think that's very accurate, and any healthy culture is going to want to make sure that you do so within your skill set and comfort zone while encouraging you to stretch, but not putting you in a place that you're going to fail. We all want everyone to succeed.
Is that the same for the other banks?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things managers will tell me when they have a new opening is, I want somebody who wants to grow and wants to develop. They're not looking for somebody who wants to stay in the same role necessarily for the rest of their lives. They really want somebody that they can just path, whether it's within their department or other departments, but somebody who's hungry to keep learning and growing.
I would agree with that as well. One thing that is really great is all of the knowledge that you gain as you're going from the different positions. That just makes you a much stronger employee because you understand, you just get it. You've experienced other things, so it's just a win-win all around.
I think, Sarah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the CEO at Horizon Bank, Craig Dwight, he started off as a teller probably also. Am I right there?
I believe you are correct, yes.
And I think he's worked in every single department in the bank except for maybe the trust department,
Yeah.
all the way up, and worked himself up to the CEO position. So,
including having worked in HR for a period of time. So yes, he's had his fingers in a lot of different things over the years.
So every bank, it pretty much has every department that any other industry out there has, HR and benefits and legal and accounting and operations, IT. Operations and IT are always working together. So there's a whole lot of opportunity no matter where you want to go once you get into the financial institution itself. Are there any questions concerning this portion of the program?
I heard a lot about the commercial lending and retail lending. Can anybody explain a little bit more about the trust or the investments kind of like area type?
Someone want to take that trust and investment side?
I can try to add a little bit on that. This is payment. I can add a little bit on that. Maybe I wouldn't say I'm the best resource for filling in on this side, but generally speaking, when you're looking at wealth management or if you're looking at helping the bank manage its investment portfolio, definitely looking for people who, again, strong background in finance is very helpful. It's the type of opportunity though that you could probably even walk into without the strongest background in finance or accounting and still see potentially opportunities to work in those areas. On the wealth management side, you're probably going to be dealing with more of those soft skills that we heard about, and maybe a little bit sooner. It does take some time. Those hard skills are most important. Soft skills generally do come later for sure. But a great opportunity for a financial mind who's very interested in the markets and understanding how to help people reach their goals. And on the other side, in the investment area, again, definitely a mind that's interested in finance or a mind that's interested in the markets. For bank investment portfolios, you're probably looking more at fixed income type of understanding as opposed to your typical stock market trading activity. More of that you'd see on the wealth management side. But on both sides, again, a lot of opportunities for kind of getting your foot in the door, spending some time in that area, learning a little bit more about what's there, seeing how it really suits your skill sets and your interests. And again, hopefully, it's nice when people find something they like the first time around and can really work into it and keep going. But as we've been hearing here, always opportunities to expand and go other directions as well.
Thank you so much, sir.
Of course.
In the trust department also, you have a lot of opportunity for introduction. You come in and become an account administrator, and you work with our customers in handling their day-to-day transactions. And as you become more experienced, you move up through that and dealing with estate planning issues and the various trusts and estate planning documents that they have. We also have the investment side where they get in there before the market opens and get to take off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then deal with all the investments that those same people are important to them. We also look to our investment side to come and talk to our board of directors on periodic basis to say, where's the economy going? Because they need to know where our bank needs to be going also. So they look at those, they tap those skills also for the board of directors. Next question is, all of you are essentially community banks, and you've all indicated a high interest of the communities in which you serve and the people that you hire being members and interested in their communities. What types of programs do your banks participate in, and what is your involvement in your communities? Starting off with this question is Horizon Bank.
Thanks, Todd. I would say that one of the strongest opportunities that Horizon has and community banks in general is the ability and the push to be involved with those within our community. I think that Horizon especially, we definitely look at the community as a reflection, a self-reflection on all of us personally. And the push to have us involved in the various facets of our community are just that much more important. And it really provides an investment, not only financially, but personally. For myself, I can tell you that the Chamber of Commerce has really been an ideal opportunity for me personally, just to get connected with others within the community. And also, I would suggest for students, right now is the time to really start getting involved with young professional groups or networking opportunities. Those are your chances to rub elbows per se with those within the community. You just never know where those connections may take you. And I think that's, it's funny enough with all the technology involved with LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, we really have a hard time connecting and communicating still. And it just becomes that much more relevant to be involved day to day with with things going on within the community.
Very good. Centier Bank, you indicated that you're very much involved in the community.
We are. I was actually just trying to think of the different organizations we're a part of, and there are so many. You know, the bank as a whole really encourages every associate to participate. There's a lot corporate-wide that we do, you know, blood drives, breast cancer walks, all these different events, because when you are a community bank, you have to give back. You have to, we're integrated in the community. We want to be involved with what's happening. Individuals who work in roles, maybe like Bill in a lending role, or branch managers, they are going to be involved very heavily in the market that they're specifically in. So the Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, things of that sort. So we do encourage them within their community to get involved in their particular market, as well as to give back throughout Centier as an organization. We actually give every associate 8 hours of paid time that they can take to actually volunteer and give back at any organization of their choice, just because we do want to encourage that behavior of getting involved out there.
That sounds like a great program. Wintrust, you have a whole bunch of community banks under the umbrella of the Wintrust Bank. Can you tell us about that?
I could speak to that a little bit. We do, and because Wintrust is comprised of 15 different community banks, and so my role really is to represent the aggregate capacity of the entire enterprise to the market, and typically that would be what we would call upper middle market. The culture of the bank, though, is very much embedded in community banking. If Ed Waymer, our founder, ever heard a customer say that they're frustrated with the bank or they're leaving because we feel too big, his head would explode. We still need to be very service oriented, boots on the ground, and part of the reason why we have 15 different charters is because each area geographically that we serve, Wisconsin and throughout the Chicago metro area and Northwest Indiana, south suburbs, each have unique needs, cultures, not-for-profit groups that are in need, and each of those banks then have the latitude to address and serve those areas as they see fit. And me as a professional and involved in Northwest Indiana, we're encouraged, and that's a nice word. We're strongly encouraged. Maybe if you're not the kind of person that believes in community participation personally, being a commercial banker in the market, trying to bring in business and put your arms around the community, it might not be a good fit. And for me, it's got to start with your own personal interest. I'm involved with 3 not-for-profits and 2 economic development boards, and my dance card is full. But I find that very, very rewarding. I love the people that I serve on the boards with, and it's good for the community. And I'm just going to say it like it is. It's good for your career with regard to the networking and the contacts that you make as a result of it.
Yeah, and to add on to that, Gil, in the credit analyst program that both Gil and Darla have talked about, for the 2 years, it's, typically 4 6-month rotations. And throughout those rotations, you could go to different charters. So you could see how, we do it down in Old Plank Trail, in the south suburbs. And, the next rotation, you could be up in Lake Forest, right? So, there's different opportunities to see how each of the charters work. I myself started, although not as a credit analyst, but when I started with Wintrust, I was in the downtown charter, and I've since moved out to the Old Plank and Beverly charters, in the south suburbs. So there is mobility through the banking system, through that charter system. If geographically you'd like to be in one spot or the other, or if developmentally
you're doing a great job at a charter, and the job that you're doing is maybe there's a need in another charter, and you can move that way too. So it's the 15 charter system is a little different, but there definitely is mobility through those. Should you choose and have the strong enough performance to do so.
Jill and Payman, Peoples is a very community-oriented bank. Can you tell us about it?
Sure. We also have the volunteer program where employees have an opportunity, to have the 8 hours to volunteer. Also, depending on the amount of hours that people do volunteer, they may be eligible for a donation in their name to a charity of their choice. So we do a lot of individual, we really encourage that. But one thing that we have is an internal group called Community First. And what they do is, come up with different types of fundraising activities that happen all throughout the year. And this group is made up of employees from all areas of the bank. So we do different things. I think tomorrow, actually, we have a holiday sweater picture contest or something like that. We do raffles for different things, the jeans days, all of that. And then by doing that, the money that we collect, typically what happens is at year end, we donate to a variety of, local organizations, and the bank matches what we are able to collect throughout the year. But with this year being a little bit different, there's definitely a need there. And, it's part of our mission to help our communities be more successful. So what we have done is, we weekly now make contributions to different organizations because people really need the money and the help right now. So that's a really big part of all of us, it's just really important. But in addition to doing that, as we're fundraising and helping people in our communities, it's also, there are times when people within your own family need help. So we've created, we have something called the People's Employee Relief Fund. So with that, if an employee is in a position, where they need help, they can apply anonymously for, basically a grant. So, it's really important to help our communities, but it's also important to be able to help, our own internal family.
I'm glad you took us internally to the banks too. Do any of your banks have programs for your employees itself, maybe for diversity or inclusion? Those are big issues that are occurring out there in our world right now.
Actually, we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion team, which is really looking at the way, just so many different things from the, recruitment standpoint, just making sure that our practices are very inclusive, kind of looking at, just employees. One thing I think that Peoples does really well is, we survey our employees a lot just to kind of get a baseline to see where, how people feel. And that helps us determine which way, this team is going to move forward.
Yeah, Wintrust also offers, we have what we call business resource groups. And so employees can volunteer to be a part of these. And we have for various different ones. It could be a women in finance type group for females that want to get more involved, or it could be early career path, people that are a little bit earlier on in their career that want some more opportunities. And you can just sign up to be a part of that.
Excellent.
Same at Centir. So what Jill and Darla were saying, we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion council. We have members from across the bank representing different groups within that council. And then we also have, we call them associate resource groups, ARGs, where they're associate led on different topics to where we can gather information, really have an opportunity to have some really good discussions to help guide the bank.
And at Horizon, we are actually in the process of establishing a couple new ERGs ourselves, one of them being focused on
What's an
DEI.
ERG?
An ERG, I'm sorry. Thank you, Todd. That's the other thing that banking's really good at is acronyms. A lot like IT, because I lived in IT for a period of time. They're both excellent at acronyms. ERG, Employee Resource Group. It's what Darla spoke to and what Gina spoke to as well, as employee-driven groups that are focused on common goal, common characteristics, common interests, if you will, that people can volunteer to be part of. One of the things that Horizon's done in the last few years is really focus on expanding our recruiting efforts from a diversity and inclusion perspective. And that has, we've seen a lot of strong improvement in that way, but it's certainly something that we continue to try to connect with local organizations as well as colleges and universities to be able to grow what we have with our workforce, as well as create those longer term connections. And I know that other banks do those things as well.
Excellent. Do we have any questions about this topic? If not, we'll move on to the next one, which is, we'll ask you all to put your future crystal ball looking hats on and tell us, where do you see the banking financial services industry going in the next 5 to 10 years? We'll really put you on the spot, Cynthia, and let you start on this.
Going digital, Todd, that is where it is going. So, you know, if COVID has taught us anything, it is just, we had to very quickly change all of our processes. I can't speak to the rest of the banks, but at Centier, we were not really set up to be a work from home company. We really had most everybody coming on site, and we had to quickly shift that. And then when COVID really was getting strong, we closed our lobbies. They're currently closed right now. And we were finding we were having to connect heavier with our clients in very different ways. So really all of our planning that we're looking at right now, we're in business plan season, you all probably are too. We are looking at staffing needs, and we're really going to see it heavier on the digital side. Our digital banking group and technical solutions, they're planning new products coming out that are going to be heavier on the digital side. So just really having that technology up to where it needs to be. People like to just be able to bank when they want to bank. They don't want to have to fit into a lobby time frame. The traffic we see coming into our branches, even prior to COVID, it's slowly gotten slower. You know, you see people wanting to set more appointments, wanting to be able to do things virtually. So that's where it's going.
I think that's very true. Wintrust.
I'll make a couple comments. It's I think what Gina is speaking to is absolutely true, and speaks more to the retail platform and the smaller owner-operated businesses, the what we would call community banking relationships and business banking, that want to be able to do more at home and at their desk. If you go up market, and so just to bring that to life, the way that we would define commercial banking levels, middle market would be owner operated businesses that have 10 million in sales and more, maybe up to 300 million. And if you go from 10 million to 1 million, it would be called, we would label it business banking. And then from a million, under a million would be business banking. When you're in the middle market arena, most of us commercial bankers are leaving the office and doing business at their place of business up until the last 7 months or so. and many of those businesses have absolutely no need to come into a branch. I've had many relationships where the owners never stepped foot into our location, but he's seen plenty of bankers, and it's hand-to-hand combat. I think that element, at least at my age, and as I look to the over the next 10 years, I don't see that changing, because each of those relationships needs are so unique from one another, and the need to tailor a relationship is very difficult to automate, unlike a home loan. So without question, there's going to be more digital banking products lower in the market, certainly throughout the consumer. When you go up market on the commercial banking side, it gets very difficult to automate that, I hope.
You can't automate nice.
From my perspective, and this is a little different, the challenge is, even though banking is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, it's a little cyclical, right? And with good economies, and then we go back down with bad economies. So from my perspective, from the credit perspective, Gil's a great credit guy too. He wouldn't be in the position that he's in without being a great credit guy. The cyclicality of banking, right, is banking has a short memory. So, after the downturn of, 08, 09, 10, it didn't take that long for banks to start doing crazy deals again. And, the challenges over the next few years, right, is I think continuing to have just good fundamentals, right? Somebody earlier mentioned, just really good Excel skills, being able to, have that basis in accounting. I look for that for our credit analysts all the time. If we need to whip out some T accounts, right, and do some old fashioned, accounting, we have to know how to do that in order to understand financial statements and stuff like that. So, in terms of challenges, again, that I see, from a credit perspective is, times are unprecedented now, and businesses are, struggling, for the most part. And, in 2, 3, 4 years, everybody's going to have a pretty short-term memory on what happened, and, what the best ways companies got through, this downturn. And, having good credit fundamentals is a way to combat those challenges, and continue to identify, good, strong companies that, can withstand, weird times like this.
People's Bank. What's happening in the next 5 years?
Well, I would also agree that, we were not typically a work from home type of an organization, and we switched very quickly. So I think that is going to change employees' expectations as well. Some people definitely enjoy, the whole work from home atmosphere, but I've also talked to a lot of employees that say, gosh, I miss my people. So, finding the right combination, employee-wise, I think is going to be really important. And the same thing with customers. They're learning to do banking differently as well. And, that is definitely going to evolve into something a little bit more digital. But I think what will remain the same is, kind of what has been said, that the need for those relationships. Now, our means of touches might be a little bit different. But I do think that, just those relationships that you build with customers, of course that's going to continue on, but trying to figure out the best way to make it work in a, kind of a hybrid situation between, people coming into the bank and other ways for us to stay connected, I think is really going to, it's going to blossom.
Horizon, what do you see for the next 5 years?
So there's the pre-pandemic and now there's in the middle of the pandemic that we thought would last only about 3 weeks, right? And we'll probably be a year into this. So we have seen on the retail side, our customers use the services that we've already had in place, but they're using it at a greater propensity now. So I find that very encouraging, a little more cost effective to have more users of the delivery channels we've already had there. The branch transactions have been going down year after year after year. I just don't know if that's going to pick back up. Customers love using their debit cards and their credit cards, and we're trying to figure out how to keep in touch with those customers and what our customers are looking for access points, online account opening, online applications, closing DocuSign for loans through emails and doing those things. So we're challenged in the branches how to continue to build that relationship with the customer, meet their needs, have those regular touches and engagements, but not in person necessarily anymore. And our skills over the phone are really important, and having clear, good instructions for our customers. So you might be a little challenged at home to go through some of the directions for some people that don't have the technology skills that we have. But definitely, I don't know that we're going to see the number of customers return to our brick and mortar. And if we shift staffing from the branches to meet those different needs, that's just a new opportunity for an advisor within our company. And what I find really exciting, and there is exciting parts of this too, is there's new positions that can come as a result of this. A digital banker, right? That we might be able to Zoom with our customers and meet their needs. And then it doesn't matter if my customers next door, 5 miles away, 50 miles, or 500 miles away, we can take care of them. Also, just like the other banks, we had to figure out how to get people to work from home. Honest to gosh, I had a dream the other night. I'm a retail branch person my entire banking career. I can't work from home with my customers, but I had a dream that somebody put a night drop in my house. Too much banking on my brain. So for the other positions that can work from home, it's a good opportunity because we don't have to be tied to necessarily that brick and mortar traditionally where we would only hire and you worked in this work location. And I think that opens up opportunity for talented individuals, and especially those that have the good technology skills, that it's really easy for them to work into working from home. So I find that part of banking, not necessarily retail, but that part really exciting. We're a bank that offers an interactive teller option for our customers in a lot of our markets. So we're serving our customers on the central time zone from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that banker can sort of work anywhere because they can cash checks and do deposits and make loan withdrawals make loan payments, cash checks for non-customers, and I don't have to be tied to that money that's coming out of the machine. So the pandemic has pushed us to use all of the digital services that we have.
I didn't have this question on the agenda, but how are your employees, for all of you, how are your employees handling the pandemic? Anybody wish to answer that question truthfully?
One thing I said at the outset of the pandemic, I turned to one of the people that I work with and said, you know, I look for the pandemic to be an opportunity to grow resilience, adaptability, flexibility, and I have seen that proven over and over and over again. Just when I think we can't stretch people more or push people more, they prove to me that they can take more. I don't mean like I want to do that to them, but sometimes we have situations where we have to ask them to do something in a certain way, or we need them to stop doing something, and they have responded and reacted very well. We as a company have done some surveying over the last 6 months. It's been very targeted to the pandemic and how people are dealing with it. How are you feeling personally? How are you feeling about how things are going from a business perspective? And that's been really helpful in guiding us in how we communicate and what we communicate, and frankly, what we can ask people to do and what we may need to back off of if we can, to give people an opportunity to breathe, catch up to the next step, and then we can move forward from there.
I would agree with Sarah. Our people have done such a great job with it. Definitely, I think the most stress has fallen on our frontline associates, the retail group, just because they're in front of them. We have regularly been reaching out to all of our branches, all of our managers throughout the organization. We do it every couple months. Just to check in and see what's going on, get feedback, make sure everybody's okay. I think those that can work from home, they're really enjoying it because they're still able to be productive, in some cases more productive even, not as many distractions. But it's really just taking care of those frontline, especially because on top of the pandemic, we have a lot of school issues. So we have working parents who are worried about COVID situations, but then other kids are at home. What do you do with daycare? How do you juggle all of that? So the bank has put together a lot of different resources, parent networks, where you can actually reach out to other associates who are volunteering their time to tutor or to babysit and do things to help one another internally to alleviate some of that stress. So again, to Sarah's point, just to see how resilient and really how just the company has come together, help each other. It's really a silver lining in a really crummy situation.
I would add that, at Wintrust, I think we've seen some of our departments be tested in ways that we never thought possible. Our mortgage team, for example, are doing more loans in a day than they used to do in an entire month. And they're doing it all remote, and they've never been remote. So to see people really have that resilience and do so well by quickly working from home and still increase the volume has been amazing. Our commercial bankers that are working night and day on PPP loan requests, people are starting to feel the burnout. We know that. And so we continue to try and find ways to let them know that we recognize that, whether that be weekly communications from, leadership or from our CEO, just saying, we hear you, we know how you're feeling, tell us what you need, how can we help you? Making sure managers are allowing employees to have different work schedules. People are utilizing these opportunities that might mean they have to work from 6 a.m. to noon, and our managers have been really good about working with their teams. We've had to onboard people remotely. We brought on 35 new credit analysts who graduated last year online unexpectedly and then started their career in banking online, and it's been a challenge. We've had to run a training program online that we never thought we'd have to do, but in a lot of ways, I think it's also given us more opportunities to touch point with our employees. We're able to see them more to do virtually than we might have done if we had to bring them in person. So I think there's been a lot of positives out of this.
I would agree with that as well. One thing that has been kind of fun is to see the creativity, because you have to look at things differently and find the way to make things work. Lots of trial and error. But that has been good. And also, I agree with the communication piece being so important. We have a team that reports, that communicates with all employees of the bank, biweekly. It's a scary time, and people don't necessarily know, well, no one knows what to expect. But in those situations, the more information that you have, I think that helps reduce, the stress level that people are experiencing.
Wonderful. This has been a lot of information, very much, very, very helpful. I'm going to combine the last two questions because some of us have already touched on it. But the questions are, what internship opportunities exist with your institution? Some of you have already touched on that. And then also, what tips or practical advice would you give a student or new graduate who wishes to seek a career in banking? So the first group is from Wintrust on that question.
Sure, I can start and then I'll toss it over to Gil. I guess the best piece of advice I would say is leverage programs like this. We're working closely with universities that want to work with students that want to be in commercial banking. And so when we needed 30 interns to work on PPP, the first people I called are my program partners at different universities to bring those on. And so leverage your teachers that you have, leverage that network to help you get your foot in the door in situations like that. When we hire an intern, for example, we received 900 applications last year for internships. And most of the people that applied have the exact same resume, accounting or a finance grad, a senior, looking to get their foot in the door. So you've got to figure out ways to stand out, and ways that you can do that are opportunities like this, participating in these types of programs, focusing your coursework in ways that align with what you would be looking to do. You know, speaking about the banking class that you took when you're on a credit analyst interview. Those are ways that you can stand out that makes you a little different than the other finance grad that you're competing for that position with. So I think utilizing that, and then I'll go back to get your foot in the door, go start as a teller.
So I'm not sure whether or not this fits here exactly. So I'm going to take it a little further. I know getting the job is job one when you graduate, but I've been kind of dying to say this. Don't forget, Purdue's a great school. I have no doubt that you're a whole bunch of great students, great faculty. Don't forget the basics though when you're out in the interviewing and also as you're advancing in your career. And by that I mean common courtesy, etiquette, how to handle yourself at a dining room table. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but I've had firsthand experience where situations have been uncomfortable because of a lack of common courtesy, you might say. And don't get too attached to your phone, which sounds kind of simple too, but I've been on calls within the last year where during a call, when our prospect is talking, my partner could not help but look at his phone during the call. My head wanted to explode. And I get it, but just be mindful of the fact that, and I have to check myself too, so I'm not being too judgy here. It's just advice, but don't forget about common courtesy and fundamental etiquette to work on as you develop throughout your career.
Yeah, and that's great, Gil. And lastly, student or new graduate wishing to seek a career in banking, don't be afraid to work hard. Work hard, ask questions. That's what, that's how you grow. That's how you learn what it is that Centir or Horizon or Wintrust is doing. You're putting in the time. You're crunching the numbers. At least at Wintrust, once you're here, even as an intern, let alone a credit analyst, we give you a lot of responsibility. And in return, we expect and hope that you're going to work hard. So don't be afraid to roll up your sleeves and really work hard for it, because people will notice. And it's obviously a great way to further your career.
People's Bank.
I would agree with what has been said so far, and take advantage of, opportunities that you have. We've all talked about the teller role. That's a great part-time job. And those part-time positions are very flexible with a school schedule. We're looking for people that can work, You know, you have Monday, Wednesday classes. Well, great. We want you to work on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. You know, you don't typically have classes on Saturday. That's when we really need people to work. So that's great experience. But I think you also have to be, you know, open-minded and look at the things that you've done, look at the experiences that you've had compared to the jobs that you're looking to apply for. What are some of the skills that are, you know, required for some of those positions? And figure out a way to sell yourself to say, what I have done applies to what you're looking for. So, you know, just be prepared to know what it is that is required, and you know, figure out what you've done to really fit that.
Horizon Bank, any tips?
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll go ahead and start it off, and then Jen and Sarah can jump in as needed here. But you know, something that I think really hit home for me is, you know, actually something I'd like to echo that Gil brought up. Those soft skills, you can't really teach those, and if you're not able to communicate effectively at a dinner conversation or some type of social engagement, it's going to be very difficult for you in a role that I'm involved with currently. And some things that I can share with you, you know, from the standpoint of, hey, I mean, just one of the banks here said 700 applications for an internship. How do you differentiate yourself? In my opinion, it's going to be those community involvement activities. You know, what are the things that you can get involved with that are going to set you outside of everyone else? And you know, it's not hard to set aside some time to you know, at a soup kitchen or to volunteer with your church, but also those networking opportunities. I really can't you know, speak to those enough. Those are the places that you will start to effectively differentiate yourself. And you know, one other quick thing I'll just make a comment on that somebody had said to me years ago, and that was, if you want to look like, if you want to be an executive, you should play the role. And what I mean by that is, as you're sitting down talking to folks within the industry or any industry, if you will, you want them to see you at some point in the future in that role. So how do you do that? Well, that means by actively participating in the things that they're involved with right now. You know, it may be simple things like ensuring that you're at a Zoom meeting on time. You know, those are kind of simple things that just kind of get lost in the shuffle. And you know, I think we're all guilty of um, you know, checking our phone if it goes off, or but those little things really add up and people notice them.
I think one thing I would add to what Bill said is to go back to something he said earlier, which is say yes. Be open to hearing about different opportunities. Be open to thinking about, I may think I'd like to be a credit analyst or in that commercial lending role, but as I spoke about earlier and have used the analogy of a glacier, be open to hearing more about what other things exist and take that opportunity when you're I treat an interview as much as me interviewing that person as that person is interviewing me and interviewing the bank. So taking that opportunity to learn more about the bank itself, as well as the position you're interviewing for, but other positions you may not even be frankly aware of, because uh, again, it's so much is not easily visible outside. So I say, I echo what Bill said earlier, say yes. And I always say that if I could have a team full of adaptable, flexible people who think creatively and innovatively, I'd be set for life. So ways that you can demonstrate that you're adaptable, flexible, especially in this time of pandemic, we've all had to stretch ourselves. And so being able to take those portable skills, such as the soft skills we've talked about, including the kind that I'm speaking about with adaptability and flexibility, will help you make those connections and show people that you're interviewing with, here's how I can bring value to your organization.
Gina, can you bring us home on this one?
Yeah, and yes to all of that. I agree 100% with all of it. But really, what Darla was speaking to, you know, getting involved and finding ways to make your resume really stand out. Because right now, as an example, we are hiring for 3 rotational internships for next summer, and we have been inundated, and they do look very similar from one resume to another. But what the managers, what they've really been focusing on is what activities, you know, what classes are you taking? Are you highlighting your skills and your technology? But also, what are you doing? What organizations are you a part of? We had one that really jumped off the page for a manager who she helped to start up not a soup kitchen, but like a food pantry on campus for students to be able to come through. And one of the managers was so blown away by, you know, the initiative that she showed on this resume, that made her jump off the page. And they just want to see, like, how focused are you on really immersing yourself, exposing yourself to different areas on campus, and then can you bring that drive and that excitement to Centere? Another big thing that I really encourage is really research who you are talking to. Kind of to Sarah's point, one of the biggest turnoffs for our managers is when you do not ask them questions, because they feel like, why are you here? Did you even research us? Why do you want to work for Centere? So come in prepared, you know, really have a strong resume, lots of activities, and then know what you're talking about. Have prepared questions about the position and the company.
I'll just add one other thing that Gina just mentioned, if you don't mind. She hit on it. Know the job, right? And that's what some of these programs can help you do. Most people that come in an interview for an entry-level role have no idea what the job is. And they say things like, well, I really want to work for Wintrust because you're such and such. That doesn't tell me how much you know the job. Explain to me what classes you took that are going to relate to make you a better credit analyst. Just really understand and do the research of what you're going to do. Instead of telling me all the things about why you want to work for us, help me understand why we should pick you over the others.
Good advice. We've come now to close to the end. We can open this up for questions now of any topic that maybe we didn't hit on tonight, or if you want to go back and get some more detail on a question, please, we're open to questions.
Remember what we said about standing out? There you go. This is the time.
First person to ask a question gets a job. Okay, well, we appreciate you all coming. We've had over 30 participants, and to the presenters, thank you so much. Very, very good information, well prepared, and excellent view of community banks in Northwest Indiana and in the Chicagoland area. These are the banks that really, when you get into them, they look and to care for you as an employee and as a person, to make sure that you move up in your career with the institution. If you start off in an area that's not real thrilling for you, they're more than happy to show you the way to get the training to get into the area that you do want to get into. The banking concentration with Purdue has 3 courses in it. The best one is risk management, but there's 2 others that exist there, and they are all ways to distinguish yourself when you're talking to financial institutions in the future that you took this class or that class concerning the financial system. It's all something that Purdue is providing to you to really give you that leg up in the future. If you have additional questions that come up, you can shoot them to me. You can shoot them to Paolo or any of your professors, and they can get in touch to us. We hope that those of you that are undergrads look at taking additional banking courses from the banking concentration in the future. If you're looking for positions, you have 4 wonderful entities in Wintrust, Centir, Peoples, and Horizon Bank to be doing that. Thank you all for your hour and a half tonight. We very much appreciate your interest. And to presenters, again, thank you very much. Have a good evening.